Meeple Nation Podcast, episode 499, the Meeple Nation 2023 Gift Guide.
Welcome, citizens, to Meeple Nation. Grab your favorite beverage, pull up a chair, warm up those dice, and join us at the game table as we discuss board games and the board gaming world. Each week, the hosts of Meeple Nation share their love for board games and the amazing memories that come from playing games with some very outstanding people. Let us now join our hosts in their natural habitat, the game table.
Meeple Nation Podcast is sponsored by GameToppersLLC.com. It's time to think about those Christmas lists. Maybe it's time to think about your Christmas list. Add a Game Topper from GameToppersLLC.com and you will be excited because it will upgrade every game night. That's GameToppersLLC.com.
Are those sleigh bells I hear? Is Santa Claus coming to town with a new Game Topper?
I would love a Game Topper in my stocking.
I would love a stocking that big.
Yeah. If I had a stocking that big, I would be I'd put a Game Topper in it as well. But next year? What would I put in it next year?
Well, Berkey can make that happen.
Indeed he can.
Welcome to Meeple Nation. We are your hosts. I am Andy Holliday.
I am Douglas Stewart.
I'm Nathan Howard.
And I'm Logan Howard.
Head on over to our website. We would love for you to check out all of our previous episodes that we have links to. We also have blogs that we would very much like you to read and give us your feedback on. And if you are interested in finding more about us, we have bios of each of the hosts and of our bloggers as well. Please jump over to our Patreon page. We love our patrons. We thank our patrons so much for your support, and thank you for helping us to improve the podcast for you, our listeners. If you're interested in helping us out and becoming a patron, click the link, join all the other patrons of the Meeple Nation. We have some bonus content that we have available for our patrons, and we're working on additional bonus content for you to thank you for your support.
Fantastic. Well, this week we are going to be talking about our holiday gift guide. But before we dive into that, I want to hear what you guys have been playing this week. Logan, what have you got?
I played a really interesting game. I say interesting because it's not a theme that I don't think I would ever sit down and voluntarily play. Happy Pigs. And
Yes.
I played it like 3 times the weekend that I played it.
You seemed a little obsessed with that game. Every time I turned around, you were playing Happy Pigs, Logan.
Well, it helped that after the first time I knew how to play it. So then it was player count, but then it was also like, oh, hey, I think Lydia would really like this game. But then she really did like the game, so it helped.
And I like the game. You taught it to me there as well.
Yeah, it's a game about raising pigs and they're happy, but the artwork, it was comical, it was great. It was a Japanese designer for the game, so the artwork you can very much tell.
Yeah, this game, pretty simple, but the idea that you're just going sort of round after round, you've got to grow your pigs, but you also have to feed them, right? Because if you can't feed them, and if you can't get them inoculated, right?
Right,
you have
because each year, so we play over a series of 3 years, and there's a swine flu basically at the end of each year, so if you didn't get your pigs the shots, or if you didn't sell them, they would die.
Right. So there's that really kind of that fine balance between, you don't want to overgrow because then you're not going to have time to get them all inoculated. And if you don't have time to inoculate them, then you want to sell them, even if they're not like prime earning in the market. Right.
But then it's also the risk because you're not going to have like the equal number of actions that you want if everybody's like trying to do the exact same thing. Because
that bidding system I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, because as each season card comes up, it tells you like, okay, in this season, there's going to be 6 buy actions. There's going to be 7 reproduce actions. And then there's going to be like 8 of these and 7 of these. And then it would go around the table. So like with the 4 of us, if we all but like choose.
Right. You choose, you have these little tiles and you choose one of those actions. So if everyone chooses a different action, you're going to get all of that action that's in that pool. But if everybody goes for the same thing, then they've got to share those actions.
Right. And then so sometimes with the season card, it would give you a bonus like, oh, hey, all the pigs, they're more expensive at the market this season, so you can make more money for it. And so you're like, oh, well, everybody's going to sell, so I'm going to go off and do this. But then everybody's thinking, oh, everyone's going to sell, so I'm going to go off and do this. And so you're all doing the exact same thing, except for one person that's making all the money. And you're all like, ah! So it's really fun in that sort of sense where it's the chaos of it. Again, it comes back to chaos in games. And That's what I like. But Happy Pigs, it was a lot of fun. I loved it.
I was really bummed out. I didn't get the chance to play that game that weekend. There was a lot of laughter amongst it, and I didn't get to participate.
I didn't either. And it did look like it was an interesting game and kind of fun.
You would enjoy it, I'm sure.
I think so.
And I don't think I would enjoy it as much with the new artwork because they had like a second edition. So there's that. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, it was more like pixelated, almost like Minecraft style art, right?
Yeah, it was a very unique artwork on it. We like looked at pictures of like the new artwork. The older artwork was much better.
Yeah, that's a shame. You hope that they would improve it. But, well, my game highlight was we got to... So my cousin Richie has developed a game. My goodness, I don't even know how many times we've play tested this game, and I think it's ready to go. In fact,
I do too.
For the first time, I think he actually feels like it's ready, which I've been trying to convince him for years that it's ready. And he's like, no, it's not ready. He finally feels like it's ready. Doug, you and Logan gave him some feedback about a year ago of some changes. And I think that was your first time playing it with the changes that you guys recommended, right?
Yeah, and he's been iterating on this for a while, and I think he had it refined, and then we played it. It was actually at BryceCon.
Right.
And we kind of had some feedback for him. And I think it was a little hard, right? When something's your baby and you work on it that much, it's hard to hear somebody say, hey, you really need to change some things. And so I think it was a little hard, but he went ahead and made some changes. And this isn't like, I'm not saying like, ooh, the changes that I suggested or but he made some changes that were along the lines of what we had suggested and sort of evolved it. He took it kind of a step further. And we got to play it the other night, and you're right. It's ready to go. It's awesome. It's a great game.
Yeah, it flowed much better, and it's called
Opolis.
That's right, Opolis, and it's fantastic, and hopefully it will be hitting game tables soon everywhere.
That would be nice. It's, like I said, I've played it, I don't even know how many times, tons of times. Yeah, I think what he's done with it, the feedback you guys gave him, plus the tweaks that he made to the technologies.
I think the rotating first player, how he adjusted the technologies, all those like little tweaks just at the very end, I think... It was just the cherry on top.
Yeah, I do not like to play test games. Just to be clear, I don't like prototypes, and I don't like to be a play tester. That's not something that I enjoy very much as a gamer.
I'm 100% with you.
But I will always play Opolis. It's a great game. It's just fun. It's a fun game.
It really is. So yeah, that was my game highlight. It's always fun when we get that to the table, and he almost always brings it because he always wants to play it. And I know he's appreciated the feedback in the past of everybody that has helped it become what it is. So yeah, it's a great game.
Fantastic. Nathan, what have you been playing?
So I've been playing a lot of Seasons. Seasons is a game that I picked up at a game swap, which is something that I try to look for. I try to look for games that are appealing, and plus I like to look for games that have a PGA implementation so that I can teach my wife how to play it and then continue to play it online. I've shared stories where my wife has completely devastated me in Ticket to Ride, but we just finished a game of Seasons, and her score was 68 and my score was 192. So I was like, oh yeah, take that. That's some payback for some Ticket to Ride losses on my part. But Seasons is it's a dice rolling game where you roll the dice, and depending on which season you're in, it goes through the 4 seasons, dictates which resources you're going to get, and then you can use those resources to play power cards. But in order to play power cards, you have to gain stars so that you have active slots to play your power cards on. There's a lot going on in this game, a lot of different elements that you're trying to manage. You want to score crystals, but you have to manage the amount of resources that you have, the energy tokens that you can keep, because you can only keep 6 energy tokens, I believe it is. So when you gain more, you have to balance, what am I going to get rid of? What am I going to have? And at the beginning of the game, it's kind of interesting. You get 9 cards, and those cards are going to count negative towards you, if negative 5 points each if you don't play them. The game is played over 3 years. So the first year, you're going to take 3 of those cards, add them to your hand. For year 2, you're going to have 3 of those cards that are going to be face down that you won't receive until year 2. And then the other 3 cards you won't retrieve until year 3. So you're trying to make plans for those cards, but as the game goes, chances are you've forgotten what you're going to need and which resources you need to save and plan for and playing those cards. And then there's other ways that you can draw a couple of cards here and there. This is actually a very simple game, but has some strategy. There's a lot of kind of luck in it, but not necessarily luck as what is rolled, because you always have your choice of 2 die that are face up, but a lot of luck of, okay, I need resources that stay in this season. So I might draft the die that keeps me in this season and gain resources that aren't necessarily super beneficial for me in hopes that the next die roll will give me the resources I need that are in this season. I really like that. The game is fairly simple. It only has like a 2.78 rating. Very enjoyable, 60 minutes, and has a great BGA implementation. So, and I can beat my wife. Always a plus.
Context is important with that sentence, but yes, that's great.
That is true.
All right. Well, I want to talk about, I'm actually going to cheat and talk about a couple of games. I've been having a really great time this week, enjoying the board game hobby with both of my boys. And we have gotten a couple of games to the table, and we actually finished a campaign. Brigham and I, we just finished Arquise. We finished it last night. This is one I've mentioned before. So I backed this game almost 4 years ago on Kickstarter. It definitely saw some trouble being built and being made and shipped and everything. COVID definitely played its part in all of that. The premise of this game was basically it is a dungeon crawl set in steampunk Egypt. And that just sounded really fun and enjoyable to me. And I kind of backed it on the theme alone without looking too much into it. A couple years into the campaign, I finally sat down and read the rules and figured out a little bit more about it when I had some time. And I was like, I don't know, this seems a little easy. It seems a little simple. I was a little worried, but it finally showed up and I sat down to learn it and played through the first mission and I was kind of hooked. I was like, okay, this is really good. So I set up the second one and Brigham came in and he was like, okay, what is this game? This looks fantastic. And this game does have a really great production value. So he came into the room and he was like, Dad, what is this game? I want to play this. So I was like, okay, because I was playing 2 characters. So I just slid one over. I just said, okay, which one of these do you want to play? Slid it over. And so he started playing with me. Well, he was hooked. So the two of us, this was on a Sunday where we had some time and the two of us together, I think we played, it was like 3 or 4 missions back to back, like over the course of like 5 or 6 hours and just had a great time. So this is one that has been set up at the table. It hasn't left the table. It's just been set up all the time. And we've just been getting to it when we can. But I'll tell you, it was really good. So one of the things that I'm really starting to enjoy about campaign games is when they have a shorter campaign. So if you play through the story of this, including the Kickstarter stuff that came with it, as well as a prologue that you actually play at the end of the game, which is kind of weird, but it makes sense story-wise. You're 14 missions. So the whole campaign for this is 14 missions max. And it can technically be played in like, I think 9 or 10, if you skip some of the extra stuff. There were a couple dud campaigns. I will admit that. There were a couple of them that weren't as good, but for the most part, the story and the mechanisms on this were absolutely wonderful. This is a simpler campaign game. And so that definitely needs to be said. This was not deep, complex, not a ton of really, deep character building, that kind of thing, but it had a really fun narrative story and Brigham and I were both hooked from beginning to end. So if you're looking for a great dungeon crawl to play with younger kids, I think this is a fantastic choice. This is great. So this is Arquise. The second game that I wanted to bring up and mention, this was one that Brigham and Seth, he doesn't play as much. He's not as much of a gamer, but I got both of them to sit down and we sat down and we played The Lord of the Rings Journey to Mount Doom. In fact, I see your copy sitting in shrink over there on the game topper, Nathan.
Don't mock my game still in shrink.
So this is a very light game. I think it's like a 1.6 or 1.7 on BGG. That sounds about right. Honestly, this is a great game for kids. If you have kids who like Lord of the Rings and you want to sit down and have an awesome, just sort of dice rolling experience that is still challenging and thinky, like not deep thinky, but thinky enough. There's definitely some bite there. This is an awesome choice. If the 4 of us were to put this out on the table and play it right now, I think we'd go through the motions. We'd probably do very well. It would be fine. I don't think it's one we'd be just vying to play again. When you play this with kids, it's a fantastic experience. And my boys absolutely loved it. And like it came down to like the final rolls of the game. This is a dice-driven game. And so it did come down to the final rolls as we were pushing Frodo, basically up to Mount Doom and trying to get him to destroy that ring. And it was awesome. And the way the cards came out, it was really great because we rolled a card and it was like the Eagles had come. And there was just these really great kind of thematic things that happened right at the culmination of this game that made it feel, I think, really special. So both games that I've had a great time bonding with my kids over. On the simpler side, one campaign game and one sort of one-off, like, it's just a one-time play, reset and try again with Journey to Mount Doom. So really fun games, had a great time playing those.
There's a lot to be said for those simpler games that are within our collections that we have for a reason.
Well, there's more to say just having those games that you can get your boys to sit and play with you too.
Yeah. I actually think your kids, I'll bring it to game night one of these times, Andy, when your kids are around and may be interested in playing that, because that Journey to Mount Doom is actually a pretty great little game. As long as you don't expect too much from it, it's a great game.
I think Caden would love that too. He just got done with all of the Hobbit movies and all of the Lord of the Rings movies probably last week. So he's been on the Tolkien kick.
I love that.
All right. So that is some great highlights. But the reason we're here today is we're talking about our annual holiday gift guide. So we use our holiday gift guide as an opportunity because we as gamers and our listeners who are usually gamers all buy and own games. And so when we get asked for suggestions of people who we should get games for, one of those first questions we should ask is, are they a gamer? Because if they are a gamer, chances are they already have the games that they want, or they have a distinct list, because there are so many games out there and each gamer is so unique that it's hard to just say, hey, your gamer is going to like this game, because everybody has their unique tastes. So with our gift guide, what we usually try to focus on is games that bring people into the hobby. So we have somebody, our neighbor, our friends that we really like to go out, have dinner with. You know, we want to slowly lure them into the hobby. And so we're going to bring them in with some of maybe those gateway games. But then as we compare that to the gamer's gamer, we also want to mix in some trinkets or some items that you could get your gamer. So I think I want to start off with a couple here. We have our friends at Board Game Alchemy. They have an Etsy store, so boardgamealchemy.etsy.com. And he has these really awesome twist bit holders.
They are really cool.
Yeah, so it's a 3D item that's printed. You pull off the lid. It's kind of a diamond shape almost. And you pull off that lid, put it down, and it has two indentions for storing pieces in there. And then you snap out or you push out the bottom of this. And then all of a sudden, you now have 6 places to put bits. This is a great pickup that you can add with any games. He actually has a setup that has 2 smaller units that will go inside your copy of Project L. So you can store it in the box with all your pieces separated. He has a 3D insert that also holds all the tiles. So you can just have that all in one box. Looks really slick. And then also for one of the games I own, he also has some upgrade pieces, upgrade components. So for Inside Job, which comes with a little punch out cardboard briefcases, the tokens that you use to play as a trump card. And he has a very nice 3D print of those. Those look exceptional. There's another website out there that's called MAIRIAD, Marriott. And if that name sounds at all familiar, the first part of that Marriott is Mare, which is our old friend Brent Mayer. He has a website out there where he has some very unique items that you can put. Some card holders. He has some dice holders, some boxes that hold all your dice, which are really nice. If you know Brent, he is all about the puzzles, and he has a very cool calendar day puzzle that you can dump out the pieces, and all the pieces are shaped in a way that you orient them to display the current date. So it has month, day, and then the date. So in the example, you could use December 21st as a Sunday. And so you can put all these pieces in there so that they will align, and it will align exactly to fill that. For those puzzle lovers, this is a great pickup for that.
I'm seeing some card holders on his site that look really cool, and some dice trays, like dice holders.
Yep.
That look very, very well done.
The other site that is out there is bgshirts.com, which is boardgameshirts.com. And there's shirts for board game themes. There's escape room puzzle shirts. And there's some other shirts out there, so check those out. Those are some good resources that are available. With the Board Game Alchemy, if you go there to his website and you whatever you decide you're going to get from there, when you check out, go ahead and put Meeple Nation in that checkout coupon area, and you get an extra 10% off, which is awesome.
With a space or without a space?
All one word. Good catch. Yeah, all one word. Meeple Nation.
That sounds awesome. Yeah, some of those gifts look like they would be amazing to be added to my game room.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of those gifts for us as gamers. What are some suggestions that you have, Logan?
So in years past, my suggestions, I kind of did it like a suggestion of for gamers, for intro gamers, and then alternative stuff, bits and stuff like that, which we have quite a few of those that we have outlined to talk about. But I think I want to go a different way this year. And I want to just kind of go off of more like an interview, because sometimes it's just an impulse that we don't want to talk to people. We want to make it a surprise about what we want to get somebody. But with board games, with how many there is, like you were saying, Nathan, if they're into the hobby, they already have like their mechanic that they like. They already have their theme that they like. So if you just have some interview questions, if you ask them like what sort of games they like, maybe they already have a favorite game. If they already have a favorite game, you can go on to BGG store, and sometimes they have like upgrade components on there. So like Quacks of I can't say it.
Come on, Nathan, you got this.
I know. Quacks of Quedlinburg is one of our favorite games. And if you go onto BGG's website, you can get some upgrade components for those bits, for those ingredient bits, and they're fantastic. If you're getting it for somebody and they really like that game, it's a perfect thing to get for a Christmas present because they are a little pricey, but they're an excellent addition for that game. But then you can go for like totally cheaper stuff too, because Nemesis is one of my favorite games, but then you can get a totally cool little upgrade. They have little promo cards for like vent cards. So it was like one of the conventions or something at one point that allows you to traverse through the vents, but then it's like a chance thing. You have to go through the deck to see what happened. If you like summoned the aliens, if you got injured or nothing happened, but it was like a $5 promo and it's available on their website. Or if they're not into the hobby, you can just kind of gauge them and just talk to them about some of the things that they'd be interested in. Because like I'm looking at a copy of Canvas right now on the wall, and it's a fantastic game. So if you got somebody that would be interested in board games and really likes art, I think that would be an excellent game to get somebody. But I think it's just like a little bit of an interview process instead of just, hey, yeah, this would be really great for you.
Yeah, I think that's, you bring up a good point as far as someone buying a gift for especially a non-gamer buying a gift for a gamer. Then yeah, it's one of those things where you, I don't know. I think once you learn how to shop for a gamer, if you're not a gamer, it probably becomes a little bit easier.
Yes. Then it's what don't they have?
Right.
So I don't get a second one.
Exactly. Some of the accessories that I put down, because we were talking about bits containers and stuff like that, and kind of along the same lines, Logan, that you mentioned for Quacks of Quedlinburg are component upgrades. Etsy has a ton of component upgrades. I know that I have several games that I've upgraded components for, and I don't know, there's just something about good components that make a game so much better. I look at Merchants of the Dark Road. I didn't get the Kickstarter version. And I would much rather play Doug's copy because he did get the Kickstarter version.
Doug got the Kickstarter version.
And
it is phenomenal, right?
Those components are amazing.
Yeah,
those
really
coins are so awesome. Like, I am so jealous, and it makes me so mad because, like, as soon as I played Doug's copy of that game, I was on my phone looking just to see if I could buy those coins. Even if they were $40 on their own, I was going to buy those coins. Can't find them anywhere.
Yeah, and the lanterns, the
lanterns were really cool
right?
too.
So I definitely think there's something to be said about having upgraded components for games, especially if it's a game that you really enjoy and you're going to play a lot, right? It's going to hit the table fairly often. Then it's probably worth doing. I did find, I think I'm going to get this from my daughter Sierra. She is very open about what her favorite smells are, and her two favorite smells are freshly cut grass and new board games. And they have a candle that is new board game smell candle.
What?
There you go.
Okay, I need one of these candles.
Okay, see,
I know what you guys should get for me this year.
See, when I saw this on the list, I thought it was Doug because every time I see like a game opened, I see his face inside the game.
That's true. I love the new game smell.
I found a candle that has the new board game smell. Now, whether or not it really smells like a new board game, I don't know, but I did find a candle that's new board game smell. As far as other upgrades, a dice tower. I think dice towers are cool. I have several dice towers. And then finally, the ultimate accessory is a game topper.
Absolutely.
And
100%.
Like I said, I would love to get a game topper in my stocking this year. It's probably not going to happen, but
Especially with the new Kickstarter.
I would love a new Minecraft in my stocking.
Because you already have 3.
I know. Why not have 4?
Why not have 4?
It's such an even number.
Well, and then once I get the fourth, then things really look better in odd numbers anyway, so I'd probably have to get 5.
Probably. Just to make sure that you're winning.
Yeah.
Because it's not a contest, Andy, but you're winning.
That's right.
And then he could leave one set up upstairs
Done.
in the white room.
Done. It's already there.
I actually like this because you're eventually going to run out of space, which means you can store them at my house.
It just means I have to buy a bigger house is all.
I love that. No, those are great suggestions. So I do have a couple of games that I wanted to suggest for the gamer in your life. And I know, Nathan, you mentioned, that these are going to be gamers that kind of already have everything that they already want. And I totally get that. But if I'm going to make some game recommendations, if the gamer in your life does not have a copy of Stars of Ikarios,
Amen.
you should get them one. Get them a copy with the miniatures pack as well. It's worth it. Those miniatures are really fun and quite amazing.
They really are. I can't imagine playing that without the miniatures.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't the new Kickstarter up right now, or is it sometime this month?
So by the time that this episode drops, the Kickstarter should be in full swing, if not already passed. But here's what's great. You can go to their website to buy Stars of Ikarios. So this is not Kickstarter exclusive. You can just get it through their site.
Oh, so that's even better. So then you don't even have to wait for the Kickstarter. You could just purchase what's there.
Correct.
Awesome.
Yep. And then if you do want some of that 1.5 stuff, you could just go late pledge for it. But it's available. Stars of Ikarios is fantastic. It's a great gamer's game. And if the gamer's in your life, maybe you're one of them, maybe you want to join this gamer in your life for a fun experience. Yeah.
Yeah,
Stars of
maybe it's one of
Ikarios,
those
so good.
nudge, nudge, like this is for you, but hey, you should like invite me when you play it.
I engraved my name on it, but it's for you.
Absolutely.
Hey, hon, I got you this game so we can bond.
It doesn't really matter if you play though.
Yeah, you don't have to play.
I'll be happy to store that for you. Yeah, I think that is a fantastic game. Was certainly one to consider if you are really looking for that extra special gift for the gamer in your life. Now, another game that I think is also very special, but that's going to have a significantly lower price tag is Revive. So Revive has become one of my favorite games of 2023, has some absolutely wonderful card play, engine building, and resource management. The exploration and discovery is incredibly high, and there's lots and lots and lots of replayability with this game. Revive is fantastic. The production's good. The art's good. The game is fun. It's not going to break the bank. And if your gamer doesn't have it, they don't know it yet, but they want it.
Yeah, that's a great one. Great suggestion.
Yeah, that is a great suggestion. And if you go over to boardgamealchemy.etsy.com, he has an awesome insert for Revive.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And then you just check out with that insert using the Meeple Nation keyword, and you'll save 10%.
Absolutely. Yep.
I also had a couple recommendations for the gamer. My first one was Earth. I'm surprised this wasn't on your list, actually, Doug. It's such a great game. I guess it has a little more accessibility than to the veteran gamer, but there's a lot of depth in this game. It's one of those that you need to play multiple times to really experience the whole thing. And there's just so many different cards and different engine building aspects of it that you get to experience with this. My second one was the Castles of Burgundy. I recently got the deluxe edition of this, and I would highly recommend getting the deluxe edition if you end up picking this up. This is a kind of an older classic game that they re-released, and my goodness, it is so much fun. Once again, high replayability on this. You have different maps that you can try out. In fact, the stack of map tiles that came with the deluxe edition is crazy. Like, I was blown away with the level of variability that you can have when you're playing the deluxe edition of this. And then finally is Descent Legends of the Dark. So Descent Journeys in the Dark, second edition is my favorite game. But Legends of the Dark, they just came out with their latest expansion, and I'm excited to play that. And if you like dungeon crawls, then this would be a fun one to get into. It's a story-driven, it's all app-driven, so you don't have to have an overlord, which is nice. It makes it a little more accessible. On top of that, just the story's kind of fun. It's got a fun story to it. The terrain in it is really cool. As you're building the dungeon, it's not just dungeon tiles like a standard dungeon crawl. There's 3D terrain. You're moving up the stairs. You're going on platforms, different levels. It's all being built while you're exploring it, and it's really cool.
Yeah, the table presence of this game is phenomenal.
I'm really excited because when the base game came out, that's when I started working nights a couple years ago. And so I missed a lot of it. So I was able to play the game a few times, like when I was available. And so I was able to like taste it. And so I'm really looking forward to be able to play it on a more consistent basis.
Yeah, I think you'll really enjoy this one. And I mean, it has less character customization than some other dungeon crawls that we've played.
Which is more approachable for some people,
It
right?
is.
As a gift.
Yep, it sure is. But it does have some cool item crafting mechanics in it. My experience with it has been very enjoyable and a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a great recommendation. I made a list of games that are more directed to non-gamers that provide some elements, but also several of these games give your regular game night a boost. So my first one is a game called Wild Tiled West, which is a tile placement game that has some twists on it where you roll dice and those dice determine which rows and columns that you can draft tiles out of. And each player is trying to establish their frontier town and try to gain the most points from that. You have bandits that you have to fight off. You have a sheriff that you have to employ, and the sheriff needs bullets. A very interesting and unique twist to a tile placement game. And so that's one that I would recommend. Another one that is easy to teach and follows along with those lines of easy to pull people in, but yet has a complexity that will keep your gamers interested as well. And that's a game called After Us. This is a new game that came out this year. Years 2083, humanity's died out. Apes are evolving and trying to adapt to the human technology that's left.
Absolutely fantastic. I had my first play just a couple weeks ago because every time that it was getting to the table, either I was in the middle of a game, I was like heading out, I had something going on, just was like passing the game each time it was getting out. So I was seeking the game to play. It did not disappoint. So very good suggestion.
Yeah. After Us is a great game, all about deck building and hand management.
And it can be a very quiet game, I noticed as well.
Yeah, it is kind of one of those quiet games. Another one is a tile placing game called Acropolis. You're playing 3 hex tiles, trying to build out your city. That city can go up as well as out, and you have different sections of that city that are going to score you different points. Very easy to play and a lot to manage there. Very challenging still. Another one that's just plain fun is Ready, Set, Bet. You're going to the horse track. There's an app that you can play along with this that does it great. You're betting on horses that are who's going to win, who's going to place, who's going to show. And then there's side bets and exotic bets that you're trying to manage as well. Ton of kind of chaos, Logan, that I think you would like. A lot going on. And then another one was Feed the Kraken. And Feed the Kraken is a great hidden role game. But I like this game so much because it has a shorter playtime and it has quick and exciting mechanics with it, with the whole bluffing, with trying to find out who's the cultist and who's not the cultist. You're throwing people overboard, all sorts of interaction trying to determine whose team you're on, and a whole lot of betrayal going on there. Very fun game.
This is probably the funnest hidden role game I've ever played.
Yeah.
Same.
Both of you, Doug and Andy, have kind of a poo-poo on hidden role games, and this is one that you guys will enjoy.
Yeah, that's definitely
It's a good one.
Fair assessment.
And then my last one that I want to make sure that everybody should get is a fun game called That's Not a Hat.
It's kind of a game that has no right being as fun as it is.
Absolutely. You're explaining it. Everybody is like, this is the dumbest game in the world. And then you go around the table once, and then everybody's like, oh, wow, this is a lot of fun. That's Not a Hat. It's a memory game that is hilarious, and you should totally check it out.
Yeah, we recently had a family gathering, and so we had a bunch of extended family over, and both my parents and my in-laws were with us one night. They were staying at our house, and so we decided to play a game, and everyone was kind of tired, and there was some hesitation. There was like, I don't know if we're up for a game, that kind of thing. And we were like, no, this will just be really quick, just simple little card game. Don't worry about it. Taught the rules to him in like 2 minutes. And we started playing, and within like 30 seconds, everybody was laughing.
Yeah.
And we just had nothing but fun and laughs. And when that first game ended, because somebody got eliminated, they were like, well, we should probably just do it again.
Yep.
And so
It's
we
kind of like that one night werewolf.
Yep. Just shuffled them up and played a second game.
What was that Amber Lee who said that? Because I believe that's what she said when her and Isaac played it at SaltCon.
It was actually my parents who said that, but
okay.
but yeah, I get it. It's a common refrain right after playing that game. It's like, oh, well, let's do it again.
So that's kind of some games that I have. Is there any others that you guys feel to add to either an experienced gamer or a non-gamer?
So I have a couple of components that I want to throw out there, and I think it would be up to your discretion to decide who you wanted to give these to. You're probably not going to do this for new gamers, probably more for gamers. One component upgrade that I think is really fantastic that you can get for a gamer, and that is a good set of poker chips. And in particular, I love the iron clays. So this was an add-on for brass that Roxley did, and they were so popular and so good that people started using these iron clays. It's a set of poker chips, and the design on them is fantastic. Like, go at least just look them up, like look up the images for them. I have a set of these. They really are wonderful, but the design on them was so good and people loved them so much, they just started using them for all kinds of stuff. They've actually had a hard time keeping them in stock. So if you go to the Roxley website right now, they're all out of stock, but you can still hunt some down out in the wild. There's still some on like Geek Market and a few other sites that have some iron clays for you to purchase. So I think a good set of poker chips is awesome. You can use them for a whole variety of different games. The other thing that I was going to just mention really quick, I was going to kind of turn people onto a website that I found. Are you guys familiar? Have any of you used the site sleeveyourgames.com?
No.
I have not.
Okay, so sleeveyourgames.com. You're going to go there. There's a little search bar. It's got some sort of recent board game stuff. So you can, if it's right there, you can find it, but you can just search for your board game. And what it will do is it gives you a breakdown of all of the cards that are in that game and the count that you will need with the exact sizes that you will need. And then down below it, it has purchasing options for those sleeves. So you can get exactly what you need and exactly how many of them you need. And they're not sponsored by any brand. So when you're looking at brands, you can get cheaper penny sleeve stuff, or you can go all the way up to like Dragon Shield stuff.
That's awesome.
So it does all that work for you. So you just put your game in. It's like you're curious about what you need to sleeve that game, pop it in, and it'll kick out numbers for you, and you can decide what you want to buy. So it's a great tool to use as a gamer for yourself, but also if you're wanting to buy sleeves, maybe you've got a gamer in your life who has a favorite game, and you're like, you know what, let's preserve that game, let's sleeve some cards or whatever. You go look it up at sleeveyourgames.com, find out what you need, purchase exactly what you need, and throw that in their stocking.
That's cool.
That's one of the things that I've really liked with some of the Kickstarters I've done, like for like Nemesis, for example, is that I back the add-on with the sleeves. And so it's so nice that it comes with the sleeves for the game, that I don't have to go through that step of like, oh crap, now what sizes for everything, right? So that's nice that the website goes and does that work for you.
Yeah, it's a great little tool.
So speaking of, Nathan, you had mentioned any games for non-gamers.
Yeah.
I have a few suggestions for your non-gamer friends, maybe if you want to introduce them to the hobby. A few simple games. I know that one of these was actually on my list last year, I believe, and that is Project L. It's one that I've introduced to a lot of people and a lot of non-gamers, and how quickly they pick it up. And the comments that I get at the table, like, oh my gosh, this is a really fun game. I need to pick this one up. I need to buy this. That's always a good one, and it's always a safe bet. I'm going to throw out Ticket to Ride Europe. I know, Nathan, you've had some great experiences with Ticket to Ride lately.
And some not so great experiences.
Those are the ones I was referring to.
And Cheryl's had some amazing
Cheryl has done really well out of
Yes. So I would recommend the Ticket to Ride, the Europe version of Ticket to Ride. The reason that is the case is I feel like it is a little more forgiving as far as your frustrations with it, where your routes get taken because you have train stations that you can place and use your opponent's routes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. For new gamers, I know my kids, they prefer the Europe version. I mean, it does have tunnels that the US version map doesn't have. There is that a little bit of level of chance, and
It's pressure luck,
it is a little bit pressure luck. But if you plan for it, then it's not that big of a deal. But I do like the Europe version better. And then the final one is a game called Shake That City. This is another game. It's a game I recently received my Kickstarter for this year, and it's one that I've taught quite a few people. And once again, it's once you get past how everything scores, which can seem a little confusing to people when you're trying to explain the game. But once they figure it out, how everything scores, how everything's placed, it plays quickly, half an hour game, and there's a lot of strategy in it. It keeps the gamer invested in the game, yet it's not overly complex so that the new gamer can feel like they actually are playing well and doing a good job.
This is such a great game. I love this game.
Yeah, it's awesome. One of my daughters picked it up to add to her game collection. It didn't have the Kickstarter stuff, but that's become one of our family favorites over the last couple of months.
Yeah, that's a great game. And to add to that list, Andy, for new gamers, I would just throw out really quickly The Quest for El Dorado. So this is a classic deck building game where you're just racing to the fabled city of gold, El Dorado, but they just released a new printing of it. So it features art by Vincent Dutray, got a really, really nice facelift, and then it also has full-sized cards. So the old version had the little mini European cards. This has the full-size standard cards.
Doug, you and I got the chance to play this just the other day.
Yeah.
And I have the original version and the expansion. This is by far the superior edition of the game.
Yep. So The Quest for El Dorado, I think that's a great game and is definitely one of those that new players will pick up and I think really, really enjoy. I also think Mille Fiori is a great pick. So a couple of Reiner Knizia games actually making the list, but Mille Fiori is super easy to learn, but hard to master. I've taught this to a ton of people over the last year. I have not had a bad experience with it yet. I've definitely lost by a lot, but I have not had a bad experience. And I haven't been at the table with anyone who's had a bad experience.
Yeah, that's a great game. I only played it once and had a riot playing it. It was great.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal game. And it just looks gorgeous.
It really does.
Good suggestion is Jump Drive and The City. So this is one of our go-to games in our group as like a filler game. If the gamer in your life does not have this game or one of these games, they're great to add because they're super quick games. They're easy to pick up, but they're such great games because they are super quick. They have a decent player count and you can get them to the table. They can get played in between like people showing up for game night while somebody else is like finishing a game or something like that. They're such great additions to your collections if you don't have either of those. They play very similar. They have between the two versions, I don't want to say versions because they are separate games, but they are similar in aspects.
Yeah, it's the same designer and it uses essentially the same system. We've kind of had this conversation before. I think most of us like Jump Drive better, but The City is the place to start, and that's a really good suggestion for this list. I would pick up The City.
I actually like The City better.
If you can find it.
If you can find it. Correct.
Didn't Amara find it on Amazon?
No, it was on Game Steward is where I think we got it.
We got it on Game Steward, but she got the non-Kickstarter version.
She may have. I'm not sure where she got it.
I thought it was just on Amazon.
I could be wrong. Maybe it was on Amazon. I actually think I ordered it for her from Game Steward, though.
But if you can find it, The City, fantastic. Jump Drive, also fantastic. They scratch slightly different itches, but both great games.
Yeah, they are. Did any of you guys throw any suggestions in there for kid games?
I didn't get any kid games.
I threw a couple in as I was, my kids have been grown up playing games, and I didn't want to like throw in Chutes and Ladders or Sorry because those games are lame, but I did want to put in Throw Burrito. Now, we have the Ultimate Edition, but the regular edition looks really fun also. The Ultimate Edition has these huge inflatable burritos. My kids are only allowed to play it outside because huge inflatable burritos and light fixtures do not get along very well. Or take televisions, and I've replaced way too many of those already because of children. But Throw Burrito or Throw Burrito Extreme. My daughter, in fact, has taken this out on dates, and they've played it at the park on like group dates for dances. And so even when they were little, they loved it. And then as they've gotten bigger, they've still found ways to play this game.
It is fantastic. Like my nephews have thoroughly enjoyed playing this with Nathan because it was the highlight of the family gathering was to beat Nathan with the big burrito.
Nice. And then there's a game called Flying Ninja. Now I'm going to pair this up with Flying Goblin. Now Flying Ninja is a little bit more of a simpler version, but it's great for younger kids where they're trying to fine-tune their fine motor skills and their coordination. But you're flinging your ninjas into a Japanese castle to steal treasure. And if you successfully do so, for each ninja that lands in the castle, you get to steal one treasure. The first person to get 3 treasures wins the game. The second game that's a little more complex is Flying Goblin. And we've talked about that before on the podcast where you're flinging your goblins into the castle And then they're going to land in different rooms, and those rooms are going to give you either a boon or some sort of penalty based on where they land. And then you're trying to knock the king off the tower and land your goblin into the king's quarters to get the most diamonds. And then on top of that, you're spending your money to unlock new goblins or to build your totems up on top of the castle in order to win. So it's a little more complex, maybe a little more time consuming. So probably for a little bit older kids. I wanted to have something that would be more for preteens or teenagers, and this is one that was on Nathan's list already, and that was Acropolis. I think Acropolis would be a phenomenal game for preteens and teenagers to learn to play. It's one of those that's a lot of fun, plays quickly. When my boys were younger, in their 12-year-old, 11-year-old stages, let's just say the attention span was not the greatest, but this is one that I could have seen them being able to get through and still have a good time, and yet there's enough strategy and depth to the game to keep the gamer that's teaching the game happy and involved as well. So those are my 3 suggestions for games for kids and adolescents.
So I only had one game on my list for kids and adolescents, probably maybe a little more toward adolescents, but I already talked about it. Refer back to our highlights for this episode. That Lord of the Rings Journey to Mount Doom, absolutely fantastic for a younger audience. Wonderful game.
Awesome.
So I want to go back to the idea of what to get for your gamer. And I have a long list of options. So I'm just going to go through these because as the gamer in your life that you may be married to, or maybe you have friends that you game together, gift ideas that you can give other people. Etsy store. Just go to the Etsy store, type in board game. You'll find all sorts of goodies there. The Board Game Geek store, like Logan mentioned, you're going to find promo cards there, upgrade components there, dice, sleeves, baggies, box rubber bands. All those things are something that every gamer uses. Game mats, card dividers, dice trays. For somebody, you can consider getting them that Board Game Arena membership. There's dice bag, metal coins, bit holders like we mentioned with Board Game Alchemy, board game inserts for almost every game out there. You just do a search for a board game insert for a game that your loved one has that's their favorite. Even big boxes, like we recently picked up the nesting box for Wingspan. That's a huge upgrade that is just very well done and phenomenal. And stuff that Andy gets every year is he likes to get wall art for his game room. There's game-related posters. There's game-related phrases, sayings. There's tracking boards out there that can track your gaming goals, 10 by 10. And, of course, T-shirts galore. I love my board game-themed T-shirts. There's coasters, travel bags, ornaments, cookie cutters. And something that I found this year when I was looking around is there's an actual Meeple nativity set out there.
Oh, you're kidding.
No. This is awesome. It has all sorts of different meeples that are related to the nativity. You have some sheeples, some angel meeples. You have a little baby Jesus meeple, and you have some resources that the shepherds are bringing in, which are cubes, right?
That's awesome.
But yeah, it has a little woven mat that you lay out and a stable there. For the person in your life that collects nativities, they need a Meeple nativity.
Or just leave a bunch of homemade Meeple ornaments at your friend's house, and then
Yeah,
put them
those
on
are
the tree.
great too. I love those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
love
there's
that.
bling out there, earrings, necklaces.
Yeah.
We put up our Meeple tree every year.
It's awesome.
So yeah, a whole slew of things out there. So there's something that you can find. And like Logan mentioned, that you go to the interview your gamer and be able to find something that is appropriate for them. And then we have plenty of suggestions to try to get those new to the hobby gamers roped in.
Well, and just to combine our suggestions, if you go to Etsy for their game, right? If they really like Quacks of Quedlinburg, you can type that into Etsy, and I'm sure there's a plethora of things would show up just on Etsy from I'm sure shirts and stuff would pop up.
Yeah, the Etsy store knows no bounds when it comes to fun things to find for board games.
Yeah.
That's a great list, Nathan. In fact, that's a great list, everybody. We've thrown out all sorts of suggestions for all the different people in your life, whether it's your kids, your non-gamer, or maybe your spouse is a gamer, or you just need to nudge your spouse on one of the ideas that we brought up for you that you would like as a gift.
Or like we were saying earlier, if you want to get your spouse Stars of Vicarios.
That is true. Hopefully these suggestions have been helpful to you.
We would love to hear what gifts you gave this year that were a smash hit, or what gifts you received that you absolutely loved. So maybe we can add it to our list for next year as well. So please, if you've got some amazing gift and you want to share what that was with us, reach out to us at meeplenation@gmail.com.
Or if there's something that is on your list that you would like as a gift that we didn't talk about, shoot us an email, let us know, or start a chat about it in our Meeple Nation Off Air on our Facebook page. We would love to hear from you. Until next time.
We'll see you wandering the mall, scratching your head, wondering what gifts you're going to get the gamer in your life.
Thank you for listening and being a part of Meeple Nation. If you would be so kind as to follow, subscribe, share, and rate or review this podcast, it really helps to spread the fun. You can be more involved in supporting the podcast by joining the nation at patreon.com/MeepleNation, or you can find a link at the top of our webpage, meeplenation.com. And while you're there, look at all our extra content. There are links to all our past episodes, a wide variety of blogs, pictures from our Instagram feed, and bios for all the hosts and our awesome bloggers. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, all under Meeple Nation. If you would like to chat with the hosts or other members of the nation, you can join our Facebook group, Meeple Nation Off Air. We hope to see you again at a game night, a con, or maybe a suspense-driven evening of Werewolf. Thank you for listening and supporting Meeple Nation, and stay tuned for next week's episode.
Thank you so much for listening. We very much want to thank our patrons who help keep the podcast running. I personally want to thank my co-hosts for all the help they provide with both content here on the podcast, in addition to what we have available on our website. Without them, the podcast would not happen. If you too would like to support the podcast, you can join the nation at patreon.com/Meeple_nation. Or you can find a link to Patreon at the top of our webpage, meeplenation.com. If you have any questions, comments, or games you feel should be on our radar, you can always reach us at meeplenation@gmail.com. We can't wait to hear from you. I am grateful to Doug and Andy who helped me edit episodes, and I want to thank James and Kim Clark who do the editing on our blogs and on our webpage, which can be found at meeplenation.com. We want to thank Brain Detergent for our music. If you want to find more from him, you can follow his links that can be found on our webpage, or simply search for Brain Detergent on YouTube to find more of his tracks. Thank you again for listening and being part of the Meeple Nation community.